Thank you for the nice introduction. Yes, my name is Lara, and I would say I'm a mobile developer because I work on Android on a daily basis, but I am also a Flutter GDE. I really love Flutter since I learned about it 2 years ago. And yeah, I do a little bit of everything on mobile.
Yeah. My name is Miguel, and I'm a freelance consultant. I'm specialized in Flutter, and I'm also based in Berlin.
Yes. So today we are going to be talking about accessibility on Flutter, how to make your apps easier to use by everyone, to all kind of audiences. And yeah, you may find already the slides in our speaker deck.com/Lara Martin.
Okay.
I don't know what's yours.
Miguel Beltran.
If you need to download them. And yeah, let's start.
Okay.
Well, about accessibility, everyone has a different idea of what it is. The classic definition is the design of products that are going to be used by people with disabilities. According to different sources, we found that up to or around 15% of the world's population has some type of disability. People with disabilities depend on applications and services that help them, that support them, that supports accessibility to communicate, so they can communicate, learn, and work. And by making your applications more accessible, you are also reaching more users. But there's also another concept, which is the universal design. It means the products that are designed so they can be used by the widest majority of people. And that's what we are going to be focusing today. There are two ways of helping. One way is with assistive technology. This is creating a device, like you see here on the slide, that will help someone to perform a task. The image here you have is a switchboard. It's called switchboard, which is a board that has 2-3 switches that a user can press. Or, for example, braille keyboards that you might have seen already out there, but we won't be covering this in this talk. There's another way of helping, which is with adaptive technology. Adaptive technology. And it means that you are adapting existing technology so you enable a person to perform a task. And this is what we are going to be focusing today. We are going to learn how we can adapt our Flutter applications to be used by more users.
For this talk, we will take an existing Flutter app, and then we will evaluate the current status regarding accessibility, and then we will fix it. The app we use is a clean yet complex Flutter application. This is a project that I worked for several months, which is now open source. And as you can see, it's a messaging app. On the left, we have a drawer with some options like user settings, channel selection, etc. In the center, there is the messaging area, where you can read messages, write messages, and also add attachments. And on the right, there is a slide-in with some details about the chat. There is a link to the project at the bottom of the slide. But if you Google Timey Messenger Flutter, it will be the first result.
Mm-hmm. You will find it.
We will be evaluating the accessibility of the app in respect to 3 different types of disability. We took the most common, but more exist. So we will focus on motor disability, vision, and neurodiversity. We will talk about what challenges people with these disabilities have and how we can help them. We will assess our application, collect all the issues, and we will fix them later. To do a fast preliminary test of the app, we are going to use the accessibility scanner. This is an Android application that you can download that will suggest accessibility improvements. Works by scanning the app and detecting possible improvement targets. Some of the things it will detect are small click areas, low contrast areas, missing labels, and so on. So let's run this on the app.
When we run the accessibility scanner in one of our app screens, this is what we got. We will go into detail later on each one of those, but and we'll explain to you how to fix them. But we want you to see that we have a very simple screen, but there's a lot of work to do. We used some accessibility properties and options from iOS and Android. We combined both, and we will be talking about them during the talk, but we want you to be aware that if you are using simulators or emulators, the amount of options is going to be way smaller. So we recommend you to always use a real device if possible, whenever possible.
So let's start with movement disabilities, which take the largest majority of affected users. Motor disability when using software means that the user may have limitations interacting physically with an app. Depending on the level of disability, they may face different challenges. The user may require larger click areas. The user may require a special hardware because they are not being able to tap on the screen. In the most severe cases, the user may need to use voice-activated software only. So how can we help? If you are developing games, for example, you can enable a way to set difficulty and also provide a mode to pause the game. You need to be sure that keyboard or switch navigation works. Provide the user with the option of using your application with a keyboard or a switch, or also to provide voice navigation. You could have adaptive UI components that will be larger if the user enables the option in their accessibility settings on the phone. And by enabling things like auto-completion, you can help them with text input. One of the issues that the accessibility scanner found was small click areas. The accessibility scanner is highlighting here the view that has the issue. In this case, it's a username, which is a clickable area that opens the user profile. The problem here is that this click area is way too small. This is reported as a touch target issue, and you can see at the bottom of the screenshot how it says that. This is one of the things that we will fix later. We try to use the keyboard navigation here to navigate through items using tabs. And let me play this video. I hope it's playing. Yes. So what we are trying to do here is to use the keyboard to navigate through the app and to try to go to the user settings, for example, and we see that it's mostly impossible to go there or to select a chat. It doesn't really work to use the keyboard. So there has to be a better alternative in Flutter than the keyboard. We use the switch access to use the app. Switch access, which is also called switch control on iOS, scans the app and highlights the columns and rows of items, allowing you to select things by tapping on the switch, similar to what you're seeing here in this animation. So we tried switch access in the app, and let's play this, and you can see it. And as you can see now, the user should be navigating using this switch, and you can see that it's selecting on the screen different items that can be selected, and it's navigating through columns and rows. So first the user goes to the user profile, then navigates back, then tries to navigate into a messaging channel, and then opens this messaging channel, and the user can start typing there, for example. No, so we see that the navigation here is working correctly. So to summarize, the issues that we found when checking accessibility for motor disability is that we found small touch targets, and also that the keyboard navigation is not so good, but the switch navigation worked well, actually.
The second disability type we are going to evaluate is vision issues. According to the World Health Organization, there are 4 levels of visual impairment: blindness, severe visual impairment, moderate visual impairment, and mild impairment. But also keep in mind that being legally blind does not mean that you are fully blind. There are different levels of vision. It's estimated that at least 2.2 billion of people have a vision impairment or blindness. How can we help them? We have to support large font sizes. We have to support screen readers and have high contrast content in our application. Vision disability affects most people, but also there are many people out there who are not technically disabled, but also can use those improvements. For example, I use a larger font setting on my phone because I find that modern devices have a very small font by default, and I always turn it up. And by supporting large font sizes, you are helping me as well. We will also talk about colorblindness later.
Yeah.
So one of the settings that we can find on both Android and iOS is font scaling. This allows us to make the text larger, and the good news is that the text widget supports it by default. However, notice that the RichText does not. If we check our application at the largest Android setting, we can see how it changes, although not a lot. And that might be also because of the device. We found that different manufacturers have different scales, but I think there's a standard for scaling. And on iOS, we saw that the change was way bigger. As you can see here, the text became massive. We recommend you to always test the largest font setting on an iOS simulator if you can, as it's gonna be, as we saw, the biggest possible one. On Android, there's another option called display size, which makes all the UI items on the screen larger. For example, icons and containers, UI elements. When we checked that, we saw that unfortunately, it seems not to be supported on Flutter yet. Maybe you can see here that the clock on the status bar and the icons are a little bit larger, but the app itself remains the same. iOS also has an option called bold text, which is to make the text bold in order to increase the contrast for visually impaired users. And as you can see, it seems to be well supported by Flutter when we enable this setting. Magnify is also an option available on both Android and iOS. This allows users to zoom into your application by using a double tap. Keep in mind, though, that if you are implementing some gestures in your application, if you are asking your users to tap multiple items or multiple times for some actions, this can conflict also with the native zoom options. This option, by the way, is only available on physical devices on iOS.
That's why we have here a picture instead of a screenshot.
Yeah, beautiful picture. And as well, we found a large or 4 different options on iOS that were not supported. For example, there's a option called button shapes that underlines buttons to make clear that they are clickable or not. An option that makes that displays labels when an item is actionable. So if you have a switch, for example, it will display a 0 or 1 depending on if it's enabled or not. There's an option to reduce transparency, another to increase contrast. But even though we found that those were not supported, we will later see that we can still use some options.
Colorblindness is a type of vision disability where there's a decrease in the ability to see color or differentiate color. It affects 8% of the male population and 0.5% of women. It doesn't mean that you are only able to see black and white, but also means that you may not be able to differentiate between certain colors. So how to help? Don't just use color, but instead add icons to explain messages, so don't rely only on color. For example, if you have an error message, don't only highlight in red the field that is wrong, but also add an icon and an explanation. And also as well, you can add options to change them. On Android, we can check how colors are going to look by using the Simulate Color Space option in the developer settings. You can set it to monochrome and check the other 3 colorblind options. So you can switch them and see if your app is still understandable with them enabled. With Accessibility Scanner, we detected missing item labels. For example, this menu item here doesn't have a semantic label, which is what the screen readers read out loud. Another issue we found is the message input field. The text contrast is too low, meaning that users could have difficulty seeing it. So we should improve the text contrast in our designs. People with severe vision disabilities use the Android talkback, which is called VoiceOver on iOS, which is a software that reads out loud what's on the screen. When we use it, we notice the following with the app. When we tap on the screen, just in the middle of the screen, it reads the scaffold title. And that's good, but maybe we can improve and give more context. No, the scaffold title is just dogs are the best. The menu buttons, for example, when you tap them, they are unlabeled. It doesn't tell you that it's a menu button. And when we tap on a chat item, it reads the time, it reads the message, but it doesn't read the username, and we can make that nicer also as well. When using Android Talkback, you can also use it with gestures. And this is the same as before, but we navigate between items using swipe action across the screen. And then when Talkback reads back the item, you can activate it by double tapping. And we can expect that a lot of users who are using Talkback are also using it this way. We also evaluated the app using iPad with the voiceover and the gestures to navigate, which is similar to Android. The results are similar, although we get a couple of different values. The buttons are not registered as buttons, but instead as images. And also iOS tries to give us a clue about what image could be. For example, if you tap on the user icons, it tells you that this is a puzzle, because VoiceOver can describe images using image recognition software. And it's the same as guessing that the burger button, for example, is a menu. So we found different issues here. When using Talkback, there are missing labels everywhere. Also, text descriptions like the author of the message are missing. The text input for the message has low contrast. We also found that the display size from Android is not supported, and a bunch of other iOS features that aren't supported either. So we see what we can do here.
The third type of disability we will look at is neurodiversity, which refers at the diversity of the human brain. We want to include it as well here in our study. Neurodiversity covers different disadvantages that users can face. For example, focusing problems or learning difficulties, disorders like autism, dyslexia, or ADHD. I always miss this, which probably you have heard before. And so what can we do to help them? We can use minimalism in design. We have to focus on the tasks that we have at hand, that the users have at hand. We need to remove all kinds of distractions around. We can provide narration. Also, it helps users to keep focused and follow with your content. For example, if you have a learning application, if you include both audio and text so they can read along, this will help your users to keep focus and absorb your content. Spell checking plays a very important role. It also helps users with writing difficulties. Remembering passwords and settings, this is very important because there are people with memory issues that, well, being able to paste passwords in password fields is crucial. So make sure that pasting works, please. And also guide the user throughout the app and show them some hints or how to use things, but do not overwhelm them with many, many hints. So when we have a text field, we can help our neurodiverse users by facilitating the typing. In Flutter, autocorrection is enabled by default, but sentence capitalization is not. This means that when a user starts writing, the first letter, the first character will be lowercase. So it's going to be like that each time they start a sentence. And you can help your users write better by enabling the text capitalization option by sentences. We will do this later. I work at Blinkist. Here you see a screenshot of our application. This application basically gives you the key points of a book, and you can read them, but also it's playing the audio narration on top at the same time. The goal was to have the audio, an audio application, but I found out that when I'm reading and listening at the same time, it helps me focusing, and that's something that you are actually doing to help neurodiverse users. And perhaps you didn't know, but you are helping them. So if you provide audio and text to be combined, will help those neurodiverse users or people with learning difficulties in general. In this topic, we only found one tiny issue in the application. Even though it's a very tiny issue, I think it's a very important fix that we will do. And now, the fun part, which is some small code, I guess, fixing the issues in general. So after evaluating the application, we came up with a list of issues that we need to fix. So we support accessibility. We have to fix touch targets. We need to fix the sentence capitalization and the low text contrast we saw in the message field. We also have to check our dynamic font scaling and also provide all those missing semantics. So the first one is touch targets. As we saw, the accessibility scanner highlighted that the username touch target is very small. That means that you might miss it or not type it correctly because it's very, very small. And I'm sure that many of you have had this issue before. So in this case, what is happening is that we have an inkwell. So we have a clickable area. And so this inkwell is constrained to the child region, which is the username text widget. This has a problem, which is this does not satisfy the minimum interactive dimension. So in Flutter, we have a constant value called mean-interactive dimension, which defines the minimum dimension that any interactive region should have according to the material design guidelines. This means any touch target needs to have a minimum height and width or size. And this size is 48 pixels in Android and 44 in iOS. And this 44 in iOS, you will find it defined in the Cupertino module. But if you're using material widgets, you will see that those are using 48 as minimum independently of the platform you're running, even if you're running material widgets on iOS devices. So how can we fix this? To fix this, we use a constraint box, so we can set a minimum size. And so we use this constant, the mean interactive dimension. So we set this size. And so this will force the widget to have at least the minimum size dimension of 48. This is basically what material widgets are doing. For example, take a look at the icon button. Now, we have a problem, which is, the UI got messed a little bit. The text has a larger height. And so we need to fix this. How can we do that? We can use the align widget. We can also remove existing paddings and add padding to the avatar. We can essentially change a little bit how to construct this UI. So we adjust the UI to make it look as before. But now the username has a target hit size of 48 minimum. So it's going to be 48 pixels or more. the UI looked the same.
Yeah. So now we're going to fix the text field capitalization and autocorrect options. By enabling text capitalization in text fields, we can help users write better messages. This is disabled by default and is set to text capitalization none. The setting is to sentences will help users to write better sentences, which is a super quick win. But always think of the use case, since not all text fields require capitalization, like, for example, a username or a password. Two more improvements that are available are autocorrection and suggestions. These two properties are enabled by default, but think twice before disabling them. On iOS, autocorrection is the only one that is used, while on Android, it requires both autocorrection for spell checking and to enable suggestions to suggest new words to the user. Let's check also how to fix the low contrast of the app. In the app, the field for writing a message is a text field with an input decorator that has a custom style provided by our designers. Because we control the color of the hint text, we can decide to change it by another darker shade of black. To do that, we can use the high contrast. High contrast is a property of MediaQuery that you will find in the Flutter framework. It's a Boolean that returns if a user has the accessibility option high contrast enabled or not. We can use this Boolean to apply higher contrast theme to our application, for example. It's important to highlight that this setting only exists on iOS at the moment. So the idea is that where we define our theme, we can switch between pure black color or a custom color for disabled color, like this lighter color, depending on the high contrast value of MediaQuery. And this will change automatically. If you go to the settings, change it, you go back, it will change. So now when the user changes the setting on the operating system, the message appears with higher contrast.
Now let's fix the text scaling. RichText is good for text spans, for example, when you want to highlight links to URLs or usernames, etc. However, RichText will not scale based on the text scaling factor that the user selects. The simple text widget is reading the text scale factor, but the RichText does not. So that means that you will need to pass it by yourself. You need to pass the text scale factor from the MediaQuery, like we are doing here in the snippet. And finally, let's add all the labels to our widgets. As we saw before, many items in our screen didn't have any labels. And to fix this, we need to add proper UI descriptions to all, these UI elements that we have on the screen. And to do that, we use the semantics widget. The semantics widget explains what a piece of UI means, explains whether the element is enabled or not, and it explains if it's an input or just read only. To help you debug your labels, Flutter gives you this amazing widget called SemanticsDebugger widget, which visualizes all the semantics for a child. We can use it to wrap a widget. And in this example, what we did is to wrap the scaffold of the application. And so the semantic widget will draw each one of the semantics regions with one color. It will write the text that is gonna be read by the screen readers. And just by using this widget, this will help you to fix the app. You will find what to fix, what needs to be fixed. For example, let's fix the menu button. Let's see how we can do this. We wrap the button with a semantics widget. This widget is annotating the widget tree with a description of the meaning of the widgets. We add a label, in this case menu, because it's a menu button. And also, since this is a button, we set the property button to true. So we are sure that when a screen reader reads this button, will know that this is a button and not something else. And now the screen reader will read this as a menu button. Now, send button. This send button is disabled by default. When you don't have anything in your message area, this is disabled. You won't have anything to send. And this is a very important piece of information that your users need to know. And this is a piece of information that you have to tell your users. You have to add this into the semantics. So to do this, again, we wrap the button, the send button with the semantics widget. We add a label to say this is the send, the action send. The button property is set to true. And also we use another property of the semantics widget that is called enabled, and that will read a Boolean that we pass to inform whether this button is enabled or not. So in the slides, as you can see, the image on top shows the button disabled, and the second image shows the button enabled. How will TalkBack read this? For the first one, we'll say send button disabled. And for the second one, it's going to say send button because it's enabled. Okay, so when you use TalkBack and you tap on the center of the screen, as Miguel was saying before, this is going to read the title of the chat, Dogs Are the Best, which is, it's true, it's a channel that you are in, that the user is in, but they don't have idea right now of what they have in front of them. They need to have some more context. So we have to give them more context by giving more information in the semantics widget, right? So we, in this case, for the scaffold, we do the same. We wrap the scaffold with the semantics widget and we add another label. In this case, we decided to just add chat screen as an example. So now when the screen readers read this, we'll say chat screen, dogs are the best. And now we also want to fix the messages because they were awful. We can actually do complex labels combining different variables, like the name of the author, the message object in the way you want. For example, we can create a string that contains name, the body of the message, the timestamp. And so TalkBack, with this label, TalkBack will read message from Coco, good morning, everyone, smiley face at 1844. But it will continue reading. It reads the label, and then it will continue reading the text in the text widget. So it will continue reading 1844, good morning, everyone. So you have like this double message. It's because, as I said, the text of the text widget is also included. How can we ignore, or how can we make the screen reader ignore this text? Well, we can use the exclude semantics widget to remove a widget. In our message, we can use this exclude semantics to remove the text widget from the semantics tree, leaving only the top level semantics label we created for this. And in this case, when we do this, we'll only read the label that we created ourselves. And also, semantics is a very powerful tool. We can use it to improve accessibility in our application, but also we can use it for unit testing, for testing. When we do widget tests, we need a way to find widgets that are displayed on the screen. And with semantics, you can use the label to find this widget. And you can do that by using the by semantics label to find a widget when you are testing. And this is easier to use, I'd say, than other testing matches even. And by using semantics labels, you are helping others. You are helping others that are using screen readers. And at the same time, you are keeping your semantics code tested, right? So it's a win-win.
Okay, so we are done. If we check again our to-do list, we have now completed most of the tasks we proposed. We fixed the touch targets that were too small, although we had to change the layout a bit to accommodate with larger widgets. We enabled text capitalization, which was a quick win. We fixed the low text contrast issue on iOS. We checked the dynamic font scaling and saw that the RichText widget does not support it by default. So we added the textScaleFactor value to it. On semantics, we fixed both the missing labels on buttons, and as well, we improved the way text descriptions are provided within the app. And we added some tests to verify it. If we run the accessibility scanner again, we see that we could get rid of all the warnings except the one about the hint text contracts because it was not supported on Android. So if you want to improve the accessibility of your app, you can run the following steps. First, run the accessibility scanner on Android. That's the quickest way to get a review of your application with lots of actionable items. Then check the larger scale font on iOS, because this is the one that has a higher setting and you will quickly see any mistake you have made. Semantics is a great way to make testing easier. So even if you don't want to focus on accessibility on the app, use them to match widgets with your tests. Finally, don't forget to embrace the text field built-in improvements and try to make the life of your users as easy as possible, no matter if they have a disability or not.
Yeah, we hope that you have seen that by doing very small things and small changes in your applications, you can help many people out there. And also, we want you to remember that being inclusive is the right thing to do.
I hope you have learned today lots of things about accessibility and how to get the best of it using Flutter. Well, this is us. This is our dog, Lily, and thanks a lot for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here with us today on Saturday. And yeah, if you have any questions, I guess this will be the time. But let's pass the mic, I guess, to our hosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the session.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us.
Welcome.
Yeah, so thank you for the session. It was an amazing one. So anyone who has a question to pose to Lara Martin, please do.
Or Miguel. He also likes questions. Yes, and the slides, we will share them later on Twitter. We forgot to do it beforehand.
Yes, I think this is being recorded also.
Yes.
So it will be published on YouTube.
Yeah. It's being recorded. So I also have one question to you. So is it possible to use this accessibility scanner on Flutter for web too?
There are accessibility scanning tools for web, and they are different. They are not the same. So you will have to create your Flutter web app and then run these accessibility scanners on web. I don't know them. I only use the one for Android, so I can only answer for that.
Yes, the web has a lot of accessibility tools that I wish we had for mobile applications, actually.
Yeah.
So you will find lots of information for web, for sure. So if you want to learn about accessibility, I will always recommend to start reading for web, because there are tons of standards and tools, and you can quickly check them. Yeah. Also, there was something I thought during the talk about the accessibility scanner. If you're deploying you are publishing your applications in the Google Play Store, when you do the release, there's a pre-launch report that already contains accessibility and also performance and crashes, and I don't know what else. I don't remember. There were 4 things. And the accessibility report gives you already like the scan. It highlights what's wrong in terms of accessibility.
In the Play console.
In the Google Play console, yes.
Okay,
exactly.
cool.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes I'm looking at them and I'm like, oh, and it's easier to see them in the Google Play console.
Yeah.
When you have this report, it's easier than running the accessibility app.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scanner. Yeah, it's a bit hidden, but I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
We also have one comment in the chat. So from Juan, I don't know if it's Juan or Juan.
Juan.
Okay. So he's saying that greetings from Argentina. He's a mobile developer and developing a Flutter app for his thesis. And he's interested. He was interested in this meetup because he wanted to add accessibility to his app.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. So as we said, we recommend to run the accessibility scanner and see what it's highlighting. And you will see that just by the small things like fixing those issues that it highlights, like the touch target, the font size, the contrast. If you fix that, you are helping lots of people.
Yeah, I recommend you that if you are doing a thesis, for example, that you include the screenshots of the whole process and you explain how you run this accessibility scanner and then what was before and what was after you run it. So I think it will be very valuable for the people who are reading your thesis.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I have another question. So are there any limitations to accessibility in Flutter at the moment?
Limitations.
We saw some of them already.
We saw some options that were not supported yet. For example, when we started creating this talk a year ago, there was one which is the contrast.
Yeah, the high contrast.
The high contrast that was not supported. And we found out that we were looking at the code and we were like, how can it be? And we found that it was hard-coded somewhere. It was commented like they were not even using the variable. And in the end, Miguel was a bit, I want to fix this. And he spent a little bit of time, a lot of time, actually, a lot of time fixing it and opening a pull request to Flutter and doing that for the first time, right?
Yeah, we fixed it. So when we were preparing this talk back in the last year, it was at the end of last year, we detected that there was something not working, this thing of the high contrast, and then we fixed it with a little pull request.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's another option like reduce motion is not well supported. So there's Rife animations don't honor it. So that's another example, no? So I think that this will be improving. And I think that if you open an issue and if you open a pull request on the Flutter framework saying, I'm fixing something for accessibility, they put priority on it. At least my experience, when I opened this pull request, they were really quick to answer and to get it merged.
Also, you can also help out by giving thumbs up in the issues.
Yeah.
I found that.
Yes.
They use those thumbs up to know what's a priority, what people want to be fixed. So if you see any issues on accessibility that you would like to have fixed, give them
thumbs up
or any kind of issues or pull requests.
Yeah.
Hello, I don't know whether I'm audible.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So concerning the accessibility in terms of the web, like for example, we have W3 school. They usually W3C. They usually explicit in terms of saying this is what is supposed to be done and this is what's supposed to be done. In mobile, for example, Flutter. Yeah. So in mobile, that is the question is there some resources somewhere specifically where they say this is what is supposed to be done in mobile?
The material design specs have something about that. So, for example, the 48 minimum dimension for clickable areas, this is something that comes from the material design specs. And I know that iOS has also other recommendations, and you can find them, I guess, is like in the how is it called, the iOS design specs, but there's like a website from Apple that has all the iOS design specs.
Yeah, but it's not the same as in the web, where there are standards and there are...
Yeah, there is no standard for...
They are strict. And I didn't find that in mobile, sadly. Yeah.
Okay.
And also there are differences in Europe compared to the US, for example.
Well, there are laws requiring you to
different...
have stuff like subtitles, but this is a completely different topic.
Different kind of rules by country. But yeah, I wish for mobile there were more rules.
Yeah, something standard.
The standard. Yeah, the minimum. Yeah. Which in the end, if your company is not caring about accessibility or adding that to the requirements, you have to kind of push for it. You have to always question, like, will this design fit for big font sizes, or how will it look when I have a big font size?
Yeah.
Do you want this text to be in 2-3 lines or ellipsizing? I'm always asking these questions and making screenshots on big font sizes to show that, hey, it's not as pretty as in your design, right? But this is still usable, and that's the important thing.
There is a question in the comments that ask about performance, and the reality is that the semantics widgets are stateless widgets. They are not gonna force your app to draw extra or to refresh extra the widget tree. They are constant. They will not interrupt the user in any way or interrupt animations in any way. So you're not going to see the difference, to be honest. You're not going to feel the difference in any way because you already have semantics by default. What you are doing with adding your own semantics is you are redefining them with different names and different meanings. So it's the same performance as not doing that. There is no difference between that.
Okay. I think that's great to know. So Robert also added some content about W3C.
Yeah.
That has guide to interpreting the web content accessibility guidelines for the non-web systems.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always jealous about the web on accessibility topic. Regarding the accessibility topic, because there's a lot of knowledge in there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's a great insights from you too. Yeah, and a great opportunity to learn what to do to mind about other people with various disabilities, which sometimes we as developers we overlook when creating mobile apps. Yeah, so I think this is a good starting point to start focusing and implementing them in our daily development. So great, thanks for that.
Yeah, thank you. I hope you can start already doing small changes and making an impact as well out there. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting us today.
Yeah,
yes, thank you.
When you're developing or when you're creating a program or a software, you're supposed to be empathetic. You should consider others. So because it's made for human beings, so in terms of accessibility, when you put that empathy in your production process, I think so. This talk gives us that empathy bit of programming, that is.
Yes. What I've done or I am doing still is always just talk about these things naturally. And when I'm presented with designs and we are discussing the designs, and then in the follow-up questions, I'm asking those questions that maybe they don't want to consider because it's a lot of work, but how this will look with big font sizes, or can we change this color? And changing color of the brand or how the app looks is always very difficult. But if you find the right people and you gather together, you can push for and make things change. But of course, you need some support in the companies.
Yeah,
I'm lucky that in my team or my company in general, most of the people are willing to do these changes.
Yeah.
But of course, we are not perfect. I wish we had more processes for accessibility. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. So for resources, do we have any other apart from the ones Robert has shared on the chat?
Good question.
There is the Flutter documentation that has a section about enabling these semantics labels and creating a semantics labels. So there's official documentation for that.
Yeah.
And for Flutter, I don't know anything else.
Yeah,
Our
no.
talk.
Well, I to be honest, I'm not very sure, because whenever I look for information on mobile accessibility, the information was always spread out. So I don't have a one point.
Yes.
And all I've learned has been through experience. Like one day I learned about the accessibility scanner, and I started playing with it on Android. Then we saw it was working for Flutter as well. And yeah, and experience of using different devices and settings and that. Yeah, but a good question. Maybe we can look for good resources. We should. Thank you, Robert, for all the links and info.
Yeah. That's the page that I was referring to.
Yeah, but I don't know of some resource that is like
more
contains
complete.
More complete. Yeah. That's a word. Yeah. I guess I am always comparing to web, and it's not fair, but
yeah, but I think it's also a good starting point. Maybe you'll be in future, maybe through your talks and stuff, we'll get like more resources, and through much of experimenting that you are doing, we'll get like more resources as time goes by, as Flutter matures.
Yes, I also found that to learn about accessibility and users' needs, I learned a lot watching YouTube videos of people using different devices with different kind of needs. And that's when you realize how people use technology in general, right? And that's where I learned the most. And then how to make that happen and help them in applications.
Yeah.
Also, yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Go ahead.
So in terms of these resources which have been shared by Robert mostly, we will compile them, and we'll send them as we send these video links and the slides, so that people can access them in a single point rather than going somewhere and looking for them in bits. Thank you, Robert, for that.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, Robert has lots of insights as well.
Thanks. I can briefly share that Flutter Web does have some fairly serious accessibility issues. The worst of them, or the most pressing, which I think eventually they may get around to dealing with, but it's going to be a little challenging, is that the index.html file that's at the very root of every Flutter Web project does not have the language setting for the page. And that means if you're normally, your screen reader is set to Spanish, but you're accessing an English written Flutter app, it's going to try and pronounce that English as if it was Spanish, and that's a complete hash. It's very easy to fix manually if you have a monolingual Flutter web app, but you have to know to manually fix it in the HTML tag at the top of the index.html.
Yeah, but the users won't do that. of
Yeah,
course.
well, it's not the user, it's the programmer.
Yeah. So
but they don't know to do it. The problem gets worse when you think about, okay, I have a multilingual Flutter app. I've internationalized this, which everyone should be doing.
Yeah.
But few people are, sadly.
Yeah.
If it's multilingual, how are we dynamically going to set the language in the HTML tag so the screen reader knows what the configured language for the page is? Because that index.html is static. It's not under the control of the dynamic Flutter code yet.
Yeah.
So
I understand.
Somebody's going to have to come up with a little tweak that goes from the running Flutter code, reaches up to the HTML tag, grabs it, and sets its language, and forces something in there when the language setting is known. It's going to be tricky, but it's still very early days on Flutter Web, and this is one of the areas which I expect to shake out. The biggest issue comes with the developers in actually knowing that they have to introduce semantics widgets, because otherwise you don't have them. And you've got text images with no label. And if something makes an app unusable quickly, it's going to be that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I know that there were, so a year ago or so, Flutter for Web had zero accessibility support.
Yeah.
Kind of. But that was a year ago. It was very early days for Flutter for Web. Nowadays, or a year later, there's more support, but of course there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work on Flutter for Web to be done still. So I'm waiting and I'm hopeful. I guess. But of course, matching the web, the standards nowadays, it's gonna take a while. Yes. Yeah. But I'm hopeful. I know there are a lot of efforts put into those, and the Flutter team is aware of those issues. It just they need a little bit of more time. Like we cannot push them. But of course, if you find the issues on GitHub and those are very annoying for you, as I said, go and thumbs up those issues whenever possible. Yeah, hopefully in a year we see huge improvements in general.
Yeah, before the stable, I think.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, so thank you all for the session and the great insights. So the meeting is ending in about a minute. So thank you, Lara Martin and Miguel, for joining, and thank you, our awesome audience, for your contributions, resources, and everything. So feel free to reach out to me in case you have any questions to send to Lara Martin or Miguel, so that I can share with them. Yeah, and feel welcomed in our next meetup for our attendees. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting us.
Thank you.
Be here today.
Bye.
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 Have a nice day or evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.